Hi. The world has been particularly grim over the last couple of weeks, so I just want to basically just tell you about a couple of moments I've had in the last couple of weeks which have been joyful moments of escapism, getting away from the news and stuff that's happening. And I recommend them to you. And the reason I'm talking about them as part of Adventures in Pop is they were both very much pop music related. So let me just quickly tell you about these two experiences and recommend that, you get a break from the news. Don't watch it all the time, as I tend to do. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to wean myself off a little bit, but it's quite hard. On Sunday, I went with a bunch of friends to the Royal Vauxhall Tavern here in London. It's a very famous venue for those that are in the know, to watch a drag act. Her name was the Dame Edna Everage. The Dame Edna Experience. I don't think we need the Everage there. The Dame Edna Experience, she's been going for years and years and years. In fact, what she was doing on Sunday was kind of a celebration of 20 years under the current management at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, which has been, I think, threatened with closures at various different times, probably run out of money at various different times in its history. But the Dame Edna Experience, which used to be every Sunday without fail, has been one of the reasons why I think the Royal Vauxhall Tavern is still there. So a big thank you to everyone, I'm sure. So look, it's a drag act. And for those of you who are not particularly familiar with the whole oeuvre of drag, I should just say a couple of things. It's not about impersonating a woman. It's a different type of character that is a drag act. It could be a man being a woman, it could be a woman being a man. But the thing about it is that it's always a kind of a grotesque. It's a grotesque, larger than life, and often very vicious caricature, and vicious because that's where the humour lies, and often the viciousness is directed towards people in the audience, and the audience loves it. So not too much harm in that, I don't think. Now, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Lily Savage, who I guess is our country's, most famous drag queen of all time, seeing as she was on primetime TV week after week. So Dame Edna, what the Dame Edna Experience does is talk a lot to the audience, and it's absolutely filthy, I should say. I'm not going to repeat anything that got said. But in between that, she's got a really good voice, and she does her version of, the classic pop standards. Obviously, some of them, she just sings them because she loves them. Obviously, she did a pretty straight down the middle version of Papa Don't Preach, and Berlin's You Take My Breath Away, and there were a few like that where, she just obviously likes the song. And in some, words got manipulated so that the song ended up meaning some other things that we don't really need to go into here. I'm particularly thinking of Cher's Believe, which, it was just filthy. So all I could say, it was an hour and a half in a rather busy pub, where we were just entertained really very well by somebody who completely knows what she's doing. She's done this for years and years and years. And although she's not there now every Sunday, if you get a chance, I would highly recommend it. It's of a certain type. It's certainly not for kids, but it's an incredibly friendly and inclusive place, as they were at pains to point out. So that was one moment of having my spirits lifted. The other was about a week or so earlier, actually just before Mayhem took place, and this involved going with another friend of mine to the cinema to watch the film Stop Making Sense by Talking Heads. Now, look, this has basically been out again recently. I think it's been, remastered and repackaged in some way. I'd never seen it before. I should have done. I'd never seen it before. It came out in the mid-80s. It is basically the film of Talking Heads live in, I think, Los Angeles in about 1981. And I think at that time, their most recent album was probably Remain in Light, and they certainly take a few tracks from Remain in Light. They do a few songs from Fear of Music. That's kind of the essential kind of repertoire that they're looking at that particular moment in their career. So what makes it so good? Well, first of all, I should just say it's incredibly good. And not only that, the small cinema space that I was in was packed, every seat taken. Who would have thought? And somebody came on at the beginning, obviously somebody employed by the cinema, to stand in front of us and say, look, please don't dance, because we've had a few issues in previous screenings of people dancing and shouting all the words. And who would have thought that Talking Heads would elicit such excitement? But this film was tremendous. And if you haven't seen it, and you like your kind of new wavy American rock music, it is sensational. And I need to say something about why it's so good. Well, first of all, it's filmed really, really well. And that makes a big difference. Obviously, it was a very tightly choreographed show at that time. And David Byrne, I think, has since been around the world doing his own thing to very much acclaim. So he's a person who knows really how to put on a kind of a stage performance. So, he comes on right at the very beginning, just him and a guitar and a kind of a beatbox, it is 1981, and sings Psycho Killer. And as the song is kind of getting underway, the stage is being built, there and then around him. It's a really nice touch, the fact that, basically the band are coming on bit by bit as the stage is being built, as the set has already started, and that's really good. Now, you will remember that Talking Heads is basically 4 people, 3 men, 1 woman, from New York, got going, mid-70s, rode the new wave pretty successfully, and carried on through most of the 80s. In this concert, they are augmented, I should say, by some fantastic musicians. And actually, all of the musicians who join them are black musicians. They're guitarists, rhythm, backing singers. And suddenly it turns, the kind of rather straight and white sound of Talking Heads into something completely different. I wouldn't normally make mention of race in that way, but it's kind of relevant because it changed the sound, it changed the level of exuberance and pure funkiness, and it also meant that they were playing to audiences that were incredibly mixed race, and I think early 80s Los Angeles, that's probably quite unusual. So it's a really interesting film. The music is wonderful. Go and listen to the album of Stop Making Sense, and particularly, top tracks like Burning Down the House, or watch it on YouTube. Fantastic, highly recommend it. And again, if you need a breather from watching the news or getting too much of that kind of, the endless grimness of everything, with that kind of horrible feeling of hopelessness, then a few escape routes are assured by either checking out a top quality drag act or going to see Stop Making Sense by Talking Heads. Either of those will alleviate the suffering for an hour or so. That's it. That's all I want to share. I will see you very soon. And my new single, I Breathe With You, which I talked about in the last episode, is out on Friday. And I will try and be jolly on Friday to remind you. Okay, take it easy. Bye-bye.